Mr. Bentham, thank you so much for taking time off to speak with us this afternoon. Just a few questions regarding your participation this year in the World City Summit. First question is, can you comment on the significance of the World City Summit as an event that promotes livable and sustainable cities?
Certainly. Clearly, city development is one of the great social phenomena of our time. The million people every week net going into cities. And so it's a focus for everybody, or should be a focus for everybody. This is really being driven by increasing prosperity in the world, and that's a very positive force. But with that positive force comes also other consequences, as stresses come into the world of energy, the world of water, the world of land use, biodiversity, food, all these areas. And these stresses cross all kinds of traditional boundaries, national boundaries, public-private boundaries, industry sector boundaries. So having a forum where people come together from the different sectors that is seen to be independent and integrated is a very, very positive contribution to actually dealing with many of these issues.
Now, you've also been to Singapore many times over the last many years, and you know Singapore pretty well. Can you comment on Singapore's role as the host and facilitator, organizer of the World City Summit, and something about Singapore's ambitions, urban ambitions?
Well, first of all, yes, I have been coming to Singapore for some time, and I have a family member who lives in Singapore, which actually means I've got a family member who is a Singaporean as well. And I'm always energized by coming here. Now, there are reasons for that, and Singapore is seen by many cities, many people as being a model. No model is perfect, but a model for integrated city development, as it's become an urban powerhouse. We would call it an urban powerhouse. And clearly, because Singapore has developed in a compact way, but also in a livable way, and that you've had to develop your own strategies for dealing with the combination of energy and water and infrastructure and other stresses. You have much to teach others of your own experience. Other people's needs will maybe be different from Singapore, but there's something from that experience. So I definitely see that Singapore is a place for drawing together experience from around the world, but also then sharing experience to the rest of the world.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Bentham, you'll be speaking next Tuesday during the keynote plenary on urbanization forces in the next 20 years. Can you comment on the future of energy in our cities? What do you think is needed to address the challenges of a global energy system that will be undergoing some major developmental changes in the coming decades?
Well, let me just frame, first of all, the scale of the energy challenge. If it was just a question of developing population and developing prosperity in the world, underlying energy demand by 2050 would be 3 times the amount that it was at the beginning of this century. Now, of course, efficiencies and competitive forces will reduce that somewhat, but still a large growth. At the same time, supply will develop and grow, but it will struggle to grow at that same kind of pace. And supply and demand then will balance somewhere in between the two. And whether that balances in a constructive and productive way, or whether it balances through problems, challenges, gridlock in cities that closes down economic development, will depend a lot on the choices that are being made right now. And a lot of those choices are city-centric, because most of the energy demand and most of the economic development is taking place through cities and in cities. So that the choices that are made around transport infrastructure, around developing cities in a compact way rather than sprawling, about integrating the use of heat and power and water and waste management. These are all city choices. Technology is very important within this, but also the leadership from government, from business, and from civic society in working together to make the right kinds of planning choices. because the choices that are made now, when you're talking about infrastructure, affect you for the next 3 or 4 decades.
How optimistic are you that our leaders will make the right choices for the two paths that in your booklet has mentioned, you know, the good future and the not so good future?
Well, the future weren't set up to be a good future or a bad future. They were recognizing different patterns of behavior. So there is a pattern of behavior which is very reactive, and often national governments are looking at policy levers and naturally tend towards the easier to apply policy lever and avoid the more politically difficult ones. And you actually have to work across those policy levers. So one outlook had a reaction to the challenges and the stresses. The other outlook recognized that people see new common interests and begin to cooperate and collaborate in different ways, and that can grow as a phenomenon and influence national governments. Coming to your question on government leadership, there will be a mix. There are going to be some places where wise decisions are made, and there are going to be some places where people are either through ignorance or through vested interests or through ideology are going to find themselves trapped, and that will have negative consequences.
You spoke this morning also at the breakout session during the Mayor's Forum about this nexus between, because the idea that you could not look at the energy challenge by itself, but that it's connected to water and food and transport. Would you like to comment about this on this nexus?
Well, certainly. It's something that we've become more aware of as we've thought more deeply about the energy system in the last few years. It's not surprising that these things are connected. You need energy to move water and to treat water. And in fact, in many places, 75% of the cost of providing water systems is coming from energy. Similarly, the connection between water and agriculture is well known, but on average, for every calorie of food we consume, we actually use 5 calories of fossil fuel. There's a big connection across these areas. That means that as prosperity and population grow, they put some pressure on each of these areas, and because they are connected, the pressure multiplies. And so it's very significant to look at these in an integrated way, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do. We have a number of projects that can help us understand that, but also that we're encouraging others to think about in an integrated way.
And bringing us back to the forum, certainly a forum like the World Cities Summit and the Mayor's Forum would be a good location for this sort of transfer of cross-fertilization of ideas and concepts and thinking.
That is absolutely the case, that this is a good forum for that. It's not only a good forum because of people sharing experience, but I have to make a positive comment about what I've experienced in the Mayor's Forum today. Very often you find yourselves in these situations where people have come prepared to make a particular prepared statement, and they're going to make that, and you can almost guess in advance what people are going to say. I found in our discussion session that there was only a limited amount of that, and there was a real engagement and some real dialogue took place. And so the forum has helped mature that dialogue, and I'm very positive about that.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you.